Step into the golden age of trucking, where cab-over beasts ruled the highways and every mile was a battle of power, sound, and endurance. These weren't just trucks, they were rolling legends built to dominate continents, survive brutal conditions, and turn heads wherever they went. From thunderous American giants to precision-built European icons, each machine on this list has a story that feels almost unreal today. Buckle up as we count down 10 insane cab-over trucks you won't believe actually exist. And the deeper we go, the crazier it gets. In the early 1970s, Ford stepped into the premium heavy-duty trucking world with the CL 9000, a cab-over that instantly felt more advanced than many of its rivals. Built in the United States, it quickly earned respect on long highways by blending strong performance, comfort, and a clean, futuristic design that stood out wherever it went. Buyers could spec it with big Cummins or Caterpillar engines, including a well-known inline-six around 855 cubic inches, about 14 liters, producing over 350 horsepower and strong low-end torque for long-distance hauling. Paired with a 13-speed manual gearbox, it stayed smooth and controlled even on steep climbs and endless highway runs. The heavy-duty leaf spring suspension and rear-wheel drive setup made it tough and stable under load, while still being surprisingly comfortable for its time. What really made the CL 9000 special was how refined it felt inside compared to most heavy trucks of that era, with better seating, optional sleeper setups, and improved insulation that made long weeks on the road far less tiring. On the outside, its tall cab, wide windshield, and deep engine sound gave it a strong road presence that drivers never forgot, especially at night on open highways. It wasn't just a work truck, it became a trusted long-haul partner for drivers crossing entire countries. While American trucks were all about raw size and brute force, Europe was quietly building a different kind of legend. And the DAF 2800 and 3300 are perfect examples of that shift. Introduced in the 1970s, these Dutch cab-over trucks changed how people thought about long-distance transport by focusing on comfort, efficiency, and real-world usability. Powered by reliable 11.6-liter inline-six diesel engines, the 2800 produced around 280 horsepower, while the 3300 went beyond 330 horsepower, which was seriously impressive for European trucking at the time. With multi-speed manual gearboxes, drivers could fully use the torque on long international routes, whether crossing flat highways or climbing steep mountain passes. The reinforced suspension kept the truck stable even at full load, and the rear-wheel drive layout helped it stay balanced on narrow European roads. What really stood out was how efficiently it worked. Despite being smaller than American rigs, it could still handle heavy cargo without wasting fuel. Inside the cab, it felt ahead of its time. Visibility was excellent, the driving position was high and comfortable, and the cabin was far more refined than most rivals of that era. The engine note was smoother and less harsh, but still carried that deep, heavy-duty feel every trucker recognized instantly. Many drivers spent weeks living inside these trucks, and they helped set new standards for long-haul comfort in Europe that later became the norm. And just when Europe was redefining efficiency, the next truck on the list brings back pure American power on a whole different level. By the late 1970s, few trucks looked as intimidating on American highways as the International Harvester Transstar 4300. With its boxy, squared-off design and massive cab-over stance, it looked less like a vehicle and more like a rolling block of steel built purely for heavy work. Under the cab, buyers had serious engine choices from Cummins, Detroit Diesel, and Caterpillar, with some inline-six setups around 855 cubic inches producing over 400 horsepower and huge pulling force for long-haul freight. Paired with a heavy-duty manual transmission, it kept power right in the torque band, making it ideal for endless interstate runs. What really defined the Transstar was its toughness. Reinforced chassis, heavy suspension, and rear-wheel drive setup gave it the ability to handle brutal loads and rough terrain for years without giving up. Many of these trucks are still remembered for running into millions of miles with minimal major rebuilds, which built its reputation for near indestructibility. On the road, it had a very commanding identity: flat front, oversized chrome mirrors, and that deep Detroit diesel rumble that truckers could recognize from far away. It wasn't just a highway machine either. It became a favorite in construction, mining, and industrial hauling, because companies trusted it to keep working when newer trucks struggled. Some even got custom paint jobs and upgraded interiors, turning them into pride pieces for owner-operators in the 1980s. The Transstar 4300 wasn't just a truck. It was a long-lasting workhorse that earned respect the hard way. And just when American engineering seemed unbeatable, the next truck on the list takes cab-over design to an even more legendary level. Some trucks don't just represent an era, they define it, and the white Freightliner is one of those rare machines. Built through the White Motor Company and Freightliner partnership, this cab-over became one of the most recognizable sights on North American highways during the 1970s and 1980s. Under its bold, square-shaped cab, it packed serious diesel power, including Detroit Diesel 5.8S and large Cummins engines, around 855 cubic inches, depending on the setup. Many versions produced well over 400 horsepower, paired with huge torque made for non-stop long-haul work. Most of them were matched with the Eaton Fuller 13-speed manual gearbox, giving drivers precise control on steep climbs and endless interstate runs. Built tough, it used a reinforced suspension and rear-wheel drive layout that handled heavy loads with surprising stability, even on older, worn-out highways. Despite its size, many drivers actually liked how practical it felt in tight city deliveries and crowded freight yards. But what really made the white Freightliner unforgettable was its personality. The tall cab, chrome accents, and deep diesel rumble gave it a strong road presence that turned heads everywhere it went. Sitting high above the front axle also made the driving experience feel more direct and intense than most conventional trucks. It even became a familiar face in movies and TV shows, which helped lock in its legendary status in American trucking culture. And while American roads were full of icons like this, the next truck shifts the story to Germany, where power and precision came together in a very different way. In the mid-1970s, Mercedes-Benz introduced a truck that quickly became a symbol of strength and reliability both in Europe and beyond. The NG1632, part of the famous New Generation series. It was designed to modernize heavy transport with better comfort, durability, and performance, and it succeeded on all fronts. Power came from a large diesel engine, including a 16-liter V10 in some versions, producing around 320 horsepower, an impressive figure for its time. That engine delivered a deep, steady rumble that became part of the truck's identity. Paired with a multi-range manual transmission, it gave drivers full control of power during long-haul and heavy-duty operations. Built for real punishment, the reinforced suspension and rear-wheel drive setup made it extremely stable on rough roads, steep climbs, and demanding terrain. This is why it was widely used not just in highway freight, but also in mining and construction where toughness mattered most. Visually, it had a strong and serious presence with its square cab, large headlights, and tall stance, while the interior surprised many drivers with its space and comfort compared to other trucks of the era. For long-distance drivers, it became a trusted companion on international routes. Even after decades, many NG trucks stayed in service, especially in regions like South America, where they were kept running far beyond their expected lifespan, turning into true working legends. The Mack F series, introduced in the United States during the 1960s, became one of the clearest symbols of raw toughness in heavy hauling. Even standing still, it looked powerful, with a short, rugged cab and a design built entirely around function over style. Under the hood, Mack used its own famously durable engines, including large V8 configurations over 18 liters and inline-6 options exceeding 675 cubic inches, depending on the setup. These engines produced well over 350 horsepower, along with massive low-end torque, making them ideal for extreme hauling jobs. A heavy-duty manual transmission gave drivers full control, though it demanded real skill to handle properly on long highway runs. Built with a reinforced chassis and tough suspension, the F-Series could survive years of punishment with minimal issues, while its rear-wheel drive layout made it a dependable workhorse across the US and Canada. But what truly set it apart was its personality. The deep, thunder-like Mack engine sound and aggressive road presence made it feel more like a locomotive than a truck. It also earned massive respect for its performance in harsh winter conditions, especially across Canada and the northern United States, where it kept running through snowstorms and freezing temperatures without hesitation. That level of durability built such trust that many companies kept these trucks in service for decades instead of replacing them. The Mack F series wasn't just built to work, it was built to outlast everything around it. The Volvo F89 arrived in the early 1970s as a different kind of truck compared to most of its rivals. Instead of chasing pure brute force, Volvo focused on balance, strength, comfort, and long-distance reliability, and that made the F89 one of the most respected European cab-over trucks of its time. It used a durable inline-six diesel engine of around 12 liters, producing roughly 330 horsepower, which was a strong figure for European trucking in that era. Paired with a manual gearbox and range splitter system, it delivered smooth, controlled performance that worked especially well on long international routes and demanding mountain roads. What really set it apart was its stability under pressure, thanks to a well-tuned suspension and rear-wheel drive setup that kept it steady even with heavy loads over thousands of kilometers. The design also carried a clean Scandinavian identity with a tall cab, large glass area, and simple but functional styling that gave it a modern feel for its time. Inside, the cabin was noticeably more comfortable than many competitors, reducing fatigue for drivers who spent days on the road. The engine's sound was strong but refined, adding to its composed driving character rather than overwhelming it. Volvo also placed a strong focus on safety and visibility, with an elevated driving position and predictable handling that made it feel secure in harsh weather conditions. Many drivers considered it ahead of its time in comfort and ergonomics, helping shape future standards for long-haul trucking in Europe. The Scania LB141 arrived in the late 1970s and quickly became a dream truck for drivers across Europe and beyond. It wasn't just about power, it offered a rare mix of performance, durability, and personality that made it stand out from most cab-over trucks of its time. At its heart was a strong V8 diesel engine producing around 375 horsepower, which was extremely impressive for that era. Combined with massive torque, it could pull heavy loads up steep European grades without losing momentum. A multi-speed manual gearbox gave drivers full control, making it reliable in all kinds of demanding road conditions. Built with a reinforced chassis and stable suspension setup, it handled heavy freight with confidence and became a common sight in long-haul transport across Europe. But what truly made it legendary was its presence on the road. The deep, aggressive V8 sound was instantly recognizable and often remembered long before the truck even came into view. Drivers described it as unforgettable, especially when climbing hills under load. Inside, it offered a surprisingly comfortable cab for its time, with good space and visibility that made long-distance travel easier. Many owners also personalized their trucks with chrome details, lights, and custom paint, turning each LB141 into a unique road icon. It wasn't just a working machine, it became part of trucking culture across Europe. The Peterbilt 352 is one of those trucks that earned its place in history, not just through hard work, but through its lasting impact on American trucking culture. Introduced in the 1950s, it became one of the most iconic cab-over trucks ever built in North America. Over the years, it was offered with a range of powerful engines, including Cummins and Caterpillar units built for serious heavy hauling. Some versions use large inline-six engines exceeding 855 cubic inches, producing well over 400 horsepower, giving it the strength needed for demanding long-distance freight work. Paired with a heavy-duty manual transmission, it required real driving skill but delivered strong and reliable pulling power. Its rugged suspension and rear-wheel drive setup made it a true workhorse, capable of handling heavy loads while still being practical in tight city spaces and crowded freight terminals where length restrictions mattered. Visually, it was impossible to ignore. The square cab, polished chrome, and deep engine roar gave it a dramatic road presence that made people stop and look every time it passed. Inside, sleeper cab versions added real comfort for long-haul drivers, offering more space than many competitors of its era and making cross-country runs more manageable. That mix of strength, practicality, and comfort helped it become a favorite among truckers. It also became widely recognized through movies, TV shows, and advertising, turning it into one of the most iconic heavy-duty trucks in American history. The Kenworth K100 is widely seen as one of the true legends of the golden age of American cab-over trucks. Introduced in the 1960s, it was built to solve a very specific challenge, delivering massive hauling power while still fitting within strict highway length limits. Under its long cab, it could be equipped with some of the most respected engines of its time, including Cummins, Caterpillar, and Detroit diesel units. Depending on the setup, it ranged from large inline-six engines around 855 cubic inches to powerful V8 configurations producing well over 500 horsepower, giving it serious long-distance pulling strength. Paired with a heavy-duty manual transmission, it delivered a raw, old-school driving experience that required skill and full attention on the road. With reinforced suspension and a rear-wheel drive layout, the K100 was built to handle thousands of miles of extreme freight hauling across the United States, Canada, and even Australia. But what truly made it legendary was its presence. The tall cab, chrome details, twin exhaust stacks, and deep, thunderous engine sound gave it a commanding, king-like identity on the highway. In Australia especially, it proved itself in brutal conditions, from extreme heat to endless outback distances, earning a reputation for toughness and reliability in heavy road train operations. Many drivers admired it not just as a machine, but as a lifestyle companion on the road. The Kenworth K100 ultimately became more than a truck. It became a symbol of an era when machines had character, power, and a real emotional connection with the people who drove them. And that's a wrap on some of the most insane cab-over trucks ever built. From raw American muscle to refined European engineering, each one on this list proved that trucks were never just machines. They were legends shaped by power, sound, and the people who drove them across endless highways. Some ruled the roads for decades, some became icons in movies, and others still live on as symbols of a golden era that will never be repeated. If you enjoyed this journey through trucking history, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because there are still plenty more hidden giants and forgotten road legends waiting for the next ride.